PRosé with Vikki Locke and Cyndee Woolley from C2 Communications.
We're back.
Cheers.
Hey, it's been 3 weeks since we've had a show, PRosé, due to some technical problems for Patty Henry. And also we were traveling for Thanksgiving, but Cyndee, cheers. I'm drinking Whispering Angel Rosé again today, going back to a standby. How about you?
I have picked up Dreaming Chaser, Dreaming. It sounded dreamy, and so it's new and it's lovely, but dreamy. That's what it is.
Dreamy.
Mm-hmm.
And the holidays right around the corner. You like Netflix, right? Did you watch Schitt's Creek? Did you like that series?
No, I could never get into Schitt's Creek.
You never did it.
Never.
I want you to see my Christmas card. Can you see it? It says, wishing you a very merry Schittsmas. And it has the characters in it. You didn't watch the show, so you can't even enjoy my humor. But speaking of the holidays, 52% of Americans think this is the worst part of the holidays. What do you think this is?
I think the worst part would be finding that perfect gift and like really showing, hey, I put some thought into it.
Close. It's wrapping gifts. 52%. And if you want to go green, people are suggesting that you make your own wrapping paper.
I'm D. I don't. I'm totally D. I don't. Can't handle that. But
okay. Another question. Is there anything that you could get to make you hook up with an ex? Is there anything possible in the universe to make you get back with an ex?
Just clarifying, are we talking a hookup for a short, hookup, or are we talking a relationship?
We're talking a reconnected relationship.
No, nothing. I love them, and I sent them all off with my love.
Well, 25% of Americans say that they would be willing to reconnect with an ex if it meant they never had to work out again a day in their life.
Well, if anyone's working on a Peloton, that might be a good thing, right?
Speaking of which, I can't wait to ask Kimberly about this. But yeah, did you see the new season premiere of the new Sex and the City called And Just Like That?
Oh my gosh. Totally mind-blowing. I couldn't even believe it.
I had friends texting me, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I don't know if we should spoil it, but it's been on forever. So if you don't want to know, mute us right now. Have you muted? Okay. Yeah, big, gone on a Peloton. But the brilliant part was, I think, marketing-wise, was what they did with Peloton later. And Ryan Reynolds, who I wonder if he's got a big stake in that, because it was just brilliant, I thought, what they did marketing-wise. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%. Let's blow it up with a controversy. Let's go viral. Let's sell a bunch of Pelotons right before Christmas. Yeah, the timing was totally planned, but
I think so too. Even though they said that the stock went down, I'm thinking everything they did was pre-planned, brilliant. Kudos to Peloton. I thought it was great. But we'll ask our guest, who I'm so excited to bring into the show, Kimberly Belle. What can I say? We love her. She's an internationally best-selling author of 7 novels, including her latest that's called My Darling Husband, which comes out December 28th. So you can be like me if you want a great Christmas gift. I've pre-ordered it, so it's going to be on my Kindle on Tuesday at midnight. And we can all just get under the covers and because she's got these suspenseful books that are so great. And a lot of you, thanks to a lot of our viewers, have said, okay, we've had a lot of historical fiction authors on, which Cyndee, that's her ultimate favorite. I love them too. But they said, switch it up. We'd like to get authors that are writing thrillers. And if you're looking for a thriller, and I know Deb Arnold, if you're watching, you said you've already pre-ordered yours as well. This is going to be something that you are going to want to maybe sit on a beach or, like I said, be under your covers because her books just are that scary. And they've got twists and turns. And she's a graduate of Agnes Scott College. And I don't know if her book is being published in Dutch or not because she spends time between Atlanta and Amsterdam because her husband's from Holland. But let's bring her into the show on PRosé. Welcome, Kimberly Bell.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you
Hey.
so much for having me.
And you're not drinking because you're in Amsterdam
Well,
right now, and it's what, 10:30?
It's 10:30, so I have a tea. It's a ginger tea.
Ooh,
Okay.
I love
Thanks.
ginger tea.
Thanks for doing this. What's your dog's name?
Daisy. She's right here. Let's see. Come say hello. It's Daisy. She's like, wait a minute, it's sleepy time.
What are you doing talking late with the ladies?
Exactly.
And look at your beautiful tree. Can you see my little dinky Charlie Brown tree over my shoulder? And you've got a beautiful tree.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we're in the spirit here. We're getting ready.
So you'll be there with your whole family?
We will. Well, so we have two kids, and one of them lives here in Amsterdam. So he's here
Okay.
all the time, coming over and dumping his dog here and, getting me to do his stuff. And then we have a daughter who's in New York, and she'll be flying over next week.
Fantastic.
Good. Well, the lockdown didn't hamper any travel, eh?
No, just more testing on both ends, I think, in order to get into either here or there. But other than that, yeah, it's all good.
Well, good.
Well, I want to ask the first question I want to ask about the book, spending so much time in Atlanta, is your characters. Cam, he is a celebrity chef in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and they call him the Steak King. So have you talked to any of the chefs in Atlanta? Are they thinking, she's not talking about me, is she?
Well, Kevin Rathbun is a friend of ours. So,
Okay.
it's kind of, and I'm pretty sure I might have even put him in my acknowledgments. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see. But, yeah. So it was kind of with a wink, wink to Kevin when I came up with this, for sure.
Awesome. Hi, Kevin. Love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And he's the real Steak King in Atlanta. We all know that, right?
Yes, I think a lot of people would definitely agree with you when it comes to Kevin Rathbun. He's the king of everything. He's so nice and he's so generous. He's a great, great guy.
Exactly.
So what makes you write these mystery, twisty, turny books? I'm wondering, have you had a lot of therapy in your life?
I have grown up at such a normal, kind of almost too normal maybe life. But, these are the kind of books that I love to read. And maybe it's, because I've had such a normal upbringing and a quiet upbringing that I search for a little adventure in my stories. But, these are the stories that I've always loved to read. And I like the stories that are a little plot heavy. And those are exactly what I write. And also I'm officially writing domestic suspense, which means basically any of the suspense is built around the relationships that happen in a familial setting. So, husband, wife is kind of my shtick, but I've done some books with father, daughter as well. But what I think is so fascinating about those stories is, you have the suspense element, but you also have these really familiar elements of relationships. Everybody knows what it's like to be in a friendship or a romantic relationship or, father, daughter, mother, son, whatever. And then you throw in the suspense angle and things go really sideways. So it makes it feel very fictional and very adventurous on one hand, but also very familiar on the other. So as a reader, you can put yourself in, that position and think, gosh, if that, it could happen to me. And if it did, what would I do in that situation?
Now, did you have an experience where a friend or a college roommate had gone through something similar? Is that part
Like
of the
with
spark?
My Darling Husband, you mean, which is a home invasion, a story about a home invasion.
Hmm.
So, you know, I live in Atlanta for much of the year, and I mean, anybody in Atlanta can tell you it kind of happens all the time there. It's a story that you hear kind of a lot, especially in the areas like Buckhead, you know, the places where the houses are a little bit bigger and the people are a little bit wealthier. And then unfortunately, it happens a lot. And it's not friends of ours that it happened to, but it happened to people in our friend group. And I remember hearing that story and thinking, oh my gosh, that like it terrified me. So when it came time for me to pitch this story to my editor, I was talking with my editor, and she said something like, "I'd love to see a story from you about a woman who's defending her family, you know, from some sort of dangerous situation." And I was like, ding, it just like popped in my head. And I knew immediately what story I wanted to write.
And you wrote it rather quickly, didn't you?
I wrote it super fast, which, and I'm not a fast writer at all. Usually it takes me at least half a year to 8 months, sometimes 10. I'm on month 10 with the book I'm writing now. But this particular story, I started writing it at the very beginning of when the world shut down. And I think it was a product of the lockdown. You know, we were all stuck in our houses with nowhere to go and
Hmm.
nobody to see. And the other thing that I think helped was I was really looking for a distraction from all the crap that was going on and all the scary stuff that was going on. And this was kind of the perfect thing. I could disappear into my, you know, fictional world and just, I pounded out this story in 4 months, which, I mean, usually it takes me double that.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't done, but like the first solid draft in 4 months, that's the fastest. I actually was like, I don't know I don't, how do I do this again? You know? I wish I could figure out like what that button is so I could write that fast all the time.
Get
And we
that
don't want
done.
another pandemic, so
No,
that's out of the
no,
question.
no.
Well, there'll have to be a pandemic in your next version, next story.
Well, you know, the funny thing is when I was writing it, it was really hard to write a book while all that was going on without incorporating stuff in the pandemic. And I actually, in my very first draft, I had stuff in there about the pandemic, and everybody that read it, like all my, you know, my readers, my agent, my editor, they were like, take it out. It's too soon, too soon.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. And, you know, I mean, I think at some point you'll start seeing it a lot more in stories, but right
Mhm.
now I think maybe it's just a little too fresh for a lot of people. And so my editor was like, don't go there. Don't touch it. Just pretend like it's never happened. So,
And I know that I think you come up with plots first in your book,
yes,
right?
yes, I do. Sorry, I don't know what she's doing. My dog.
Oh
Um,
no, there could be a home invasion.
yeah, right. I do. I plot it out, and it's partly for me and partly for my publisher, because I get their buy-in before I write a book. That's just kind of the way it works. I've been with the same publisher for long enough that, you know, I'm under contract for books, but it's not really specified what those books are. So when it's time for me to write a book, we sit down and we, you know, hammer out a premise, and then once we agree on what that is, I basically create the whole outline. It's, you know, pretty much chapter by chapter what's going to happen. It's not super detailed, but it's detailed enough and specific enough that when I sit down to write it, it's pretty much that's the book they're going to get. Um, and it helps me too. It's like my roadmap when I sit down to write.
So what is your system for writing? Like once you've got the roadmap, are you blocking the husband out, blocking the kids out, blocking the dogs out, or are you bringing a glass of wine in? How do you write?
You know, who was it that said, it was one of the big writers like Fitzgerald or something. uh, write write drunk, edit sober, I think he said, but I can't do anything drunk when it comes to writing. I can't write drunk. I can't edit drunk. As soon as I have one glass of wine, it's like, ooh, I'm done. The story's out in my head. Um, I like to write in the mornings. I get up and I'm usually, I'm not getting dressed up or anything. I'm in my pajamas or my sweats or whatever, but I like to sit on the couch and write, and I'm on the couch by 8 usually. And I write my best words in the morning. I typically start losing steam around 2, maybe 3, and then I kind of move into, whatever, all the other things that come with writing, social media, lots of social media, all the other millions of things you have to do, emails, things like that. But writing is most of my morning into the afternoon. And it's not glamorous. I mean, it's me with my hair stuck up here and like some big messy knot and pajamas on and bare feet, and I'm just on the couch. And Daisy, there's no blocking Daisy out. She's with me all the time.
Now, I'm really picky about psychological thrillers or mysteries because so many times, and I don't know if it's because I've watched so many movies or I've read so many novels, but a lot of times I like the plot that I know got rave reviews. I had it figured out midway through, and then I'm hoping, okay, this is good because I think it's going to end this way, and it won't, but it did. One thing about your books, that hasn't happened. And like I said, I haven't finished this one yet, but I'm sure that's what all the reviews you're getting are saying. That's what's so good about your writing is that you take us places that are so unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a huge compliment. And it's super hard to do. It's like, here's the thing, like suspense, people who read a lot of suspense, a lot of thrillers, they've seen it all, right? So it's so hard to surprise them, those readers, with like something they don't see coming. It's really hard. And I sweat about it with every single book. It's, one of the things that I'm thinking of all the time I'm writing the book.
Are you watching these thrillers or where are you getting your inspiration on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I read a ton. I read lots. I'm not super huge with TV. I mean, I do follow some shows, but I'm not that big of it. I just don't have as much time to watch as much TV, I guess. I get my inspiration from everywhere, from hearing things, from watching things. From everywhere, actually.
What have you read that gave you that moment where something happened that surprised you? Do you have a favorite mystery book that just you went, this is fantastic?
Well, I loved the plot. You didn't like the plot?
You didn't figure that out? I said, okay,
yeah.
From the beginning of the whole relationship, I'm not going to, if anybody else wants to. I mean, I wanted to because it was on the bestsellers list. So I thought, well, okay, it should be really good. I was disappointed. I'm so sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, I did love it, but I did figure it out before it actually got there. But I think what I loved so much about it, well, partly because the main character was an author,
Was a
right?
writer.
And an author who had one big hit and then could come up with his next story. And so this is the premise of the book. He basically steals a story from someone else.
And that
who
was
dies.
all fantastic. That was good.
I thought that was really good. I thought the structure was really interesting. I thought the writing was really good. So maybe I gave it a pass that I figured out these other things. The other one that I really liked, Who is Maud Dixon? Have you read that one?
No.
That was a good one too. And I kind of sort of figured out a little bit where it was going, but I gave it a pass because it was just such a fabulous interesting story. Pretty Things. Have you read that?
No, but I read The Silent Patient. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was unexpected too. Although, here's the thing, I won't give away any spoilers about The Silent Patient, but like if if I had been thinking about, okay, where is this going? I would have figured that one out too. But I think it
Really?
was because, yeah, because it was the most unexpected twist you could give it. But I was so distracted, I guess, by the rest of the story and by what was happening with the patient that I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't think about it that much. I don't know.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah. I thought it was great too.
And who comes up with your titles?
Mhm.
Because um, and they're always short. Is that like a thing that agents or your publisher titles are always kind of short so people will remember them? Because if you're a Kindle reader like me and you don't have the title at the top all the time, sometimes I'll say, I'm reading this great book and it's called, I forget.
I don't know. I know that they do think about like the Kindle, the what thumbnails, so that you actually can see the letters and the image on the thumbnails of the Kindle when you're looking on Amazon or whatever you're buying it from. So I know they think about that, but I have never thought of a title that actually stuck, that actually came onto my book. In the beginning, I would spend a lot of time coming up with possible titles, and I would name my books when I would send them into my publisher. And now I literally wrote this as book number 7. I turned it in as book number 7, and
Not My Darling Husband. You had
no,
no title.
no,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't have one itty bitty notion of what the title would be. And my publisher, they have whole departments who think of nothing but, the marketing and the placement and the trends and all these things about, where the market is going. And they're, looking at, like, remember when all the titles had girl in them, like Girl on the Train, The Good Girl,
Gone Girl.
Gone Girl,
Mm,
all those,
yeah.
that was a big trend. So they're
Okay.
looking at things like that, and they are, thinking up titles that will be catchy and will, maybe hit some sort of chord with readers. And I am happy to let them do their thing and not worry about it so much. And then they send me the title. Same actually with the cover. They send me an email with like, here's your cover, hope you love it. And I'm like, excellent. I don't want to have to worry about those things when there are experts that can do it way better than I can anyway.
I'm sure they appreciate that. As a marketing and PR professional, I can say, thank you to all of us for letting the experts be the experts.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly I suck at titles anyway. If none of mine have stuck, so let somebody else handle it.
So what's next for you?
So I'm working on a book now. I'm about to turn it in probably next month, and it is another domestic suspense. It's about a woman. She's a wife and a mother, and she's an Instagram influencer who has this post that hits the wrong note and goes viral, and she ends up on this, like, on the bottom end of this social media pylon, and everybody starts screaming about her getting canceled. But the danger keeps circling closer and closer to her family, because she's put her entire family and her world out on the internet for all to see. So it turns out she's got a really big target on her back. And the danger keeps coming closer and closer to her and her family. It's really a story about, like, putting yourself out there. Is it worth it? Why people do that, and the dangers that can come from doing.
What are your thoughts
Things.
on social media?
I have a love-hate. I think most authors have a love-hate with social media. I really do love the way it can bring people in contact with each other. And I'm on, the whole book world on Instagram, Bookstagram, and on Facebook. I'm on a bunch of book Facebook groups, and I do love that part of it. I hate the part where, you feel
The
really,
bullying?
Yeah, well, that for sure. Yeah. And people get really snarky in ways that they would never say things that they would never say to your face. But I also it feels like an extra job sometimes for me as an author, and I think most authors would probably say that. That's the part I'm not so crazy about. If I could, put that part aside and do the fun parts, I would love it. But it does feel like an extra job, an extra thing on my list of things to do sometimes.
I think the security and the safety with the social media is so important. And um, my daughter's an aspiring dancer, so she's got a public Instagram account,
Yeah.
and I have it linked to my phone just to
Yeah.
monitor some of the incoming messages, and it's scary what can come through. And
Yes, it is.
parents have no idea. But
No.
your son and daughter are of age, right? But your daughter's in the performing arts world, so she's probably got a social presence as well.
Yeah, she does. And she actually works for a couple of podcasters. She's in New York, and she works for Girls Gotta Eat, if you guys have heard of them. And they're big. They have a big following. And she is their like tour manager person. So she occasionally shows up on their social media. So she gets a lot of random people following her because of them. And, you know, it's a weird thing, but I think she probably handles it better than I do because she's grown up with it. She's 23, so she's kind of had this, I guess, most of her, teenage years and life, and she can probably handle it a little bit better than I can. I get like freaked out by it. She's like, you just block them.
Just block them. Well, Gen Z is gonna rebel, and next thing you know, Facebook and Instagram will be cutting back, right?
It'll be interesting to see for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for getting up late at night where it's almost 11 o'clock in Amsterdam. We are really appreciate that. We wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. The book is My Darling Husband, and it comes out on the 28th. You can get it everywhere, right?
Yes, for sure. Everywhere.
And how can people get in touch with you or find out more about Kimberly Bell?
My website, KimberlyBellBooks.com, and I have links to all my socials. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you are, I am. Goodreads is also on there. So all those links are on my website.
Well, all the best to you. Best of luck. And I can't wait to finish this book.
Well, thank you. Hope you love it all the way to the end.
I will. I'll send you an email immediately if I figured it out, but I'm sure I won't.
Please do.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Join us next week for another edition of PRosé with Vikki Locke and Cyndee Woolley from C2